Right. Good morning, everybody. This is Robert Woolf of Made Open here in Cornwall. And Robert, please tell us, welcome first of all, but please tell us in your own words about yourself and about your business and how long you've been doing it for.
Hi everyone, I'm Robert. My background is in digital strategy and service design. I've been running a business for 20 years. And as a service designer over the years, we sort of recognized a common problem, regardless of what subject we were working on, which was a lack of collaboration, a lack of between communities and the organizations to support them. Often a lack of productivity, some waste in the system because people weren't joining up, connecting with each other. So to cut a long story short, we decided to create a community platform that would hopefully make those connections, allow communities to share their resources, their skills, their ideas, and their time, and networks and businesses too. So how we describe what we do now is we build better communities by providing software and services that help people to shape their community network or workforce for the better. This could be as simple as running an errand for a neighbor or exchanging skills with a co-worker.
Wow. That is really interesting. Can I ask you what really inspired you to do this and get into this line of work there? I'm really interested in this.
We haven't got long.
No, that's right. Let's keep it short.
As a teenager, I was actually really interested in social issues. I couldn't quite land what was going on in my head. You know, it was all things. I didn't really feel like I was that driven by money. I was quite sort of passionate about social issues. And it was only when I read Small is Beautiful as a sort of late teenager that I kind of found my place. I thought, that's what I was thinking. That's what I was trying to think.
Okay.
And so I went down a fairly traditional route. I worked for a global digital agency. I set up a creative marketing agency, which was quite traditional, sort of selling widgets for clients type of thing. But I felt over the years that I really wanted to combine my interests in sustainable development with my skills in creative digital strategy. And in the end, that's how we became a service design practice, trying to use quite traditional skills to problem solve real world social issues, issues around modern slavery, unemployment, health, social care, mental health, you name it. And just try and combine the two. And there's been a lot of influences, but a big influence for me was, I'm trying to think when it was, I think it was in 2013. I went to Rio de Janeiro on a human trafficking conference with one of our clients. And we were all based in a convent overlooking Rio with the Christ Redeemer to the left, with nuns sort of everywhere. And I was sat on the roof of this convent overlooking this beautiful city, just thinking, what's my place in the world? What do I want to achieve?
Wow.
And I just got in my head that as a service designer, in a way, you can really understand problems in a lot of detail. But if the clients aren't willing to implement the solution, then actually it felt to me like the kind of research that you did, the discovery phase, was a bit meaningless.
Okay.
And I often felt that clients were really good in the problem phase, but not so good in the solutions phase. They're actually not very good at delivering solutions, which often meant that our projects came to an end quite early before we'd had a real opportunity to deliver the kind of groundbreaking solutions. So I thought maybe that I could use my skills in digital and in data to kind of create something that would be a binding force between the service user and the service provider and everyone else in between. And really that's how I started formulating the idea. We won a few projects that were along the sort of similar lines. At the time, David Cameron's Big Society was kind of a thing. And it just felt like a natural fit. And so we developed a version 1 software, did a 2-year pilot, built it a little bit wrong, but also learned that there was a need. And then 5 years ago, we started again building our version 2 platform, and that's where we are today. Been really hard work. But it is going really well. We now have platforms in the UK, in Australia, New Zealand, America, Canada,
Wow.
Malaysia, Hong Kong. So, not necessarily that perhaps sounds it's going better than it is.
Yeah.
But we're doing okay. We're doing okay.
Great. That's great. And what would you say, because obviously there are challenges with that. Well, what would you say are your main challenges today as a business leader?
Well, they change all the time. I mean, in the early days, it was that we didn't have an investor. So I spent a lot of time thinking, how are we going to create a platform with no money?
Yes.
And back in the day, we were licensing our software to clients a year before we'd even built it. And that enabled us to fund the development. Nowadays, I see that not having money actually is a bit of a strength, because it allows us to focus on what we really want to create. And our clients who help us with licensing and developments, they have their own visions too, and we're able to accommodate their visions. I think challenges right now are connected to growth. I could look in every single direction of our business and invest. And yet we don't quite have the deep pockets to invest. So I do worry that we might miss the opportunity that we've definitely got right in front of us. And there's always technology risks that you have to mitigate. And also the political, social environment that we're in at the moment. Our clients are struggling. They're voluntary sector, public sector, even businesses, they're struggling. In lots of different ways, financially, but also COVID's probably had a big impact on people mentally. So we definitely have noticed a change in people's mindsets and approaches a little bit.
Yeah, yes. And you mentioned COVID there, and obviously, we have seen every sphere of business being impacted somewhat somehow from COVID, positively and negatively. And for yourself, how did COVID impact your business, and what actions did you take?
Well, overnight, we saw a 15-fold increase in the usage of our platforms. So,
Wow.
So when the first lockdown happened, what I felt like a bit of a hard sell for years, power of the communities can help, was instantly understood. And our platforms took an absolute hammering. So the challenges were actually things like technical challenges, making sure we could cope with the increased bandwidth. And we applied for the government grant of 10 grand, and we spent all of that on tech, so that our servers wouldn't fall down. So we had the opposite problem at the beginning of COVID. We certainly had our fair share of stresses due to COVID, but in terms of business changes, we already had a fairly flexible working relationships with our team. Our challenges were more to do with a huge surge in usage of our platforms and our capacity to respond. One thing that did frustrate me in retrospect is we had a lot of inquiries for new platforms at that point, and we just didn't have the capacity to support new clients. And we decided that we were going to focus all out on our existing clients and just making sure their platforms were working. And we did a really good job of that. But we lost those other opportunities. And then when the first lockdown ended and then the second, those opportunities were no longer there. So you spend a long time in business sort of hoping for to land. And when we had the opportunity, we perhaps missed the opportunity a little bit because we decided to prioritize our clients. So yeah, that was a bit frustrating.
Yeah, I could see that. Wow. But look where you are now, and that's the main thing, and yeah, looks like you're just going upwards and onwards. And what would you say? I mean, out of the many years you've been in business, what have you learned about yourself personally as a business leader?
Well, I set up Made Open when I was 26. And my friends and family were slightly gobsmacked because I was a very shy and introverted person. I still am, actually. And they were thinking, you're not really the right person to be leading a business. And they were probably right. In many ways, they were probably right. But I've been on a real journey. And a couple of things I have learned, first of all, is very much to be yourself. People don't mind you being shy or introvert if you're competent. And they don't mind you having a sense of humor and cracking stupid jokes even, if you're just being your true self. And I think that I think what people have often felt about me, and actually about Made Open, is that we're quite authentic, we're genuine, we haven't particularly got any egos, we're quite humble in many ways. But none of that matters, because actually we just focus all out on doing a good job for our clients and delivering the best platform that we can.
Come on.
I've also learned that a happy team is a productive team. I've recognized that we could work with anyone in the world now. COVID has helped us to export in many ways. One of our biggest clients is based in New Zealand. How? I don't know sometimes, but it doesn't matter. We make it work. And they're a really big organization in New Zealand, but they love working with us and we love working with them. I also think process. I tend to think that if you focus on the process, the results will take care of themselves. So we often focus on not just trying to respond to something that's going wrong, but just trying to permanently solve it.
Yes.
By focusing on process. And I think although that does take time, that definitely helps. So I think in summary, be yourself.
Yes, absolutely. And last but not least, before we go close to this question, is that, what advice would you give to like an 18-year-old who wants to start their own business?
Ooh. Well, I have an 18-year-old son who's thinking about this at the moment.
Okay. Wow.
I'm just wondering now whether I should share what advice I give. I think it's similar to like my last answers to some extent. I think that when you know what your values are, decisions come easy. So for me as a 26-year-old, I knew that I couldn't sell anything to anyone because I didn't have the personality. It had to be something that I was passionate about and knowledgeable about. And I spent the first 10, 20 years of my career chasing the knowledge rather than chasing the money.
Yes.
Which meant I often felt a bit frustrated sometimes when I, wasn't paid enough and I missed out on things. But equally, 10, 20 years later, I feel like you could throw anything at me and I'd probably be okay. I feel like I wouldn't be able to manage my way out of it. So my advice to an 18-year-old version of myself or to my son would be to really focus on your passion and really to get knowledgeable in that area, and to really think about what it is that you've got that could make a difference. My eldest son is very analytical. He's been studying numbers since he was 3 years old. He would be naturally good at looking at data and understanding where there are gaps. My younger son's a complete creative and comes out with these absolute master strap lines by accident. He would look at a problem very differently and would be so bored by data. So you have to really focus, I think, on what your strength is and just try and become the best you can possibly be in that area.
That's right. That's great. Well, I would say thank you so much, Robert. That concludes the interview. I want to say thank you very much again. Really, really, truly inspiring conversation with you this morning there. Thank you.